It's a good thing we made this out of vibranium. Looks like he's using diamonds now.
Roll the intro.
Hello? No, I know. No, don't worry about it. Season 4 starts right now.
Let's go!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Under the Influence, the primary podcast here at Christian Influence Studios. We're so grateful to get to do this and to do other things, and we're really grateful that you enjoy it and that you listen. Thank you for being a listener, and if you're on YouTube, for being a viewer. If you primarily listen to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something like that, remember you can go find it on YouTube if you go to, I think it's just youtube.com/Christian Influence Media. If I'm wrong, sorry. Just look up Christian Influence and you should be able to find us. But the YouTube version of the show has like a whole video experience. You can see us, you can see our ugly mugs, you can see our reactions to one another and the things that we do.
And all of the things that we are reacting to.
Yes, because often we'll have videos that we watch or music that we listen.
Like that.
Was that North Korea? Okay. That was, in a previous episode, we referenced how North Korea might start a tsunami on the coast.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's what that sound was. I think that was the mega wave.
Definitely. That was the wave.
The mega death wave.
Megadeth wave.
Isn't Megadeth a band?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is a very non-Christian band.
Okay. After I said Megadeth wave, I was like,
The lead singer's totally Christian.
Oh, he is?
the lead singer of Megadeth is a Christian?
Dave Mustaine, his band's no longer Megadeth. He has a different band.
Dave
Oh,
Mustaine.
dang. I didn't know that.
Whoa.
Straight up Christian.
I didn't know that he
Straight up.
became a Christian.
Whoa.
Still has long hair. Still.
Whoa.
That's wild.
Okay, well, new opener to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't hear the news, former Megadeth lead singer is a Christian and has his own Christian band. Didn't know that. Pretty
That's
cool.
wild.
That is pretty cool.
I knew the guy from Korn did, but I didn't know that
Yeah.
Megadeth did too.
Alice Cooper's a Christian too.
Alice Cooper became a Christian?
Who's Alice Cooper? Dude, this is why Shibbles needs a mic.
Shibbles
Because
does
so
need a mic,
often-
because none of this can get picked up.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You know how much Tim is gonna have to do subtitles on this episode for already. Every now and then, I'm like, okay, this is stuff that matters. Like sometimes I'll just cut it out, but then other times I'll go like, okay, they should know what Shibbles
Yeah,
is saying, so
yeah.
I'll be like, put subtitles here, and I'm sure it's not easy.
No, it's not.
Well, cool. Megadeth. We didn't know that, but yeah. So totally sidetracked there. Go find the YouTube version because you can get things like subtitles of what Shibbles is saying.
Yeah, because if you're just listening to the audio,
you'll have
you're
no
not
idea.
going to hear it.
Also, you'll get to watch whatever we're reacting to. And this episode, we're going to have some of that. So, and this episode, some of it's really, really important stuff that really matters and be cool to see. So we want you to get to see that. So go check it out on YouTube. It's kind of a follow-up to a previous episode and something really important that happened. So, but also, right at the top here, I'll get it out of the way. If you enjoy this content, if you enjoy what we're doing here at Christian Influence, and you enjoy watching this, and you want to take more part in it, go check out discord.gg/Christian Influence. You can go to our Discord community. We've got over 2,000 members there. It's focused on a whole lot of things, whether that's online gaming with Christ-centered community, or if it's content that's Christ-centered, or just community in general that is, conversation that is, Bible studies, all that stuff, you can get involved in that way. Or if you just want to check out the channel where we talk about this show, you can do that there. And we love getting to hear from you guys. We've had a lot of people leaving some comments in that Discord channel about different episodes that have been coming out lately. And there's actually a guy that is going back through right now, and he's never listened to the show, but he started at the very beginning. And he's like, which is different than like Of Lore and Legend, because Of Lore and Legend, the D&D show, you should start at the beginning.
Yeah, very serialized.
But for Under the Influence, this show, you really don't have to. And in my opinion, I'd rather you not, because those older episodes are really cringy.
Yeah.
So as a result of him saying that, I went and listened to some of the first episode. And it's hard to listen to.
I could imagine that being the case.
And also like talking to that guy on Discord, being like, oh, I'm so glad you're listening to it. Yeah, we really love doing this show and we hope it's an impact and things like that. And then realize, so he's talking to me who I am now.
Yeah, and not
then
who you
he's
were
listening,
when we started.
He's listening to me who I'm not now.
Yeah.
It's the stuff I'm not necessarily proud of. So that was a bummer. But
Yeah.
you know who you are. You're listening to this episode probably in like a year because you're listening through all the old ones. There's 91 episodes up as of right now.
We're at 91.
Yeah. I mean,
That's-
4 seasons of 24 episode seasons.
That's crazy.
Pretty soon we're going to be at what? 96 is when it'll finish season 4, 96 episodes. So we'll have to, let's see, season 5, episode 4, we'll have to really
So
celebrate.
this is 95.
This should be episode 95 of the whole show.
Yeah.
It's episode 23 of season 4. But in season 5, episode 4 will be our 100th episode.
Dang.
Isn't that crazy?
We need to do something.
We'll have to do something special.
Yeah.
I don't know what we could do. Maybe finally that's the episode that where we like
24-hour
on
live
route
stream.
with Under the Influence. 100 hour.
Yeah, 100 hour.
100 hour live stream episode. Ugh. No, but someday, I so want us to do like a Christian Influence in-person live event. And I want us to film an episode of Under the Influence with an audience.
That'd be so cool.
I think that would be cool. Just be like, hey, if you're an Under the Influence listener, then, during this time of the event, like come to this area and we're going to record an episode and you guys can be the audience. I think that would be super fun.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens. Let us know in the comments below. Do you want to do
Would you buy a ticket?
Yeah. I mean, would you come to a Christian Influence event, kind of like a con or something that's and it would I would want to get some cool speakers and make it really a Christ-centered time of listening to some different pastors talk and stuff like that, but maybe have some breakout sessions. But it would be cool to do some sort of Christian Influence media-centered things as well, and have those be like an Under the Influence recording. Maybe there could be an Of Lore and Legend event. Who knows?
Have at least the Of Lore and Legend cast there
to answer all your questions.
that they can't reveal because it's so far behind.
That's true. That'd be so funny.
by then we'll be
Someone's
be there.
So does Edovard ever take his wraps off? I don't know. He does.
You gotta listen and find out.
He does. But I won't tell you what's underneath. And if you're not enough Lore and Legend listener, that
This
sounds
meant
so
nothing
weird to say,
you.
does he ever take his wraps off?
Does he ever take his wraps off? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a character in the
Yeah,
D&D
he
podcast
has a full wrap
that's
off
got like
and just like
bandages all over his entire body.
Yeah.
And so you don't know like what he actually looks like underneath. So, Levi, what's been going on in life? How are you?
I had a weird dream last night.
That sounds like a normal night
And
for you.
a weird morning because of it. At least a wake up.
So a
call.
Tuesday.
Yeah, it's just a Tuesday, So during this dream, I decide something comes up. I can't go fishing with my brother. And then like he's all bummed out about it. And then I have to go to youth group. And then like there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on. I'm not going to go into all the gory details. But it turns
What
out
did you do to Byron?
No, I didn't do anything to Byron. It's just that there's a bunch of reasons for why Byron ends up bringing the truck with the boat into the gym that we're having youth group at.
Oh, good. He like crashes it through the wall?
No, it gets in because it has a warehouse door.
Oh,
okay. The gym does, but it doesn't in reality. But in the dream, it did. And then we spend the whole like time having the kids wind up anchor rope and lengthen it out and like measure it, and they get some like hands-on experience, and then they also get practice and they learn how to direct a trailer when somebody's
good.
backing it up and going forward with it.
Okay, good.
So it's a fun, cool idea for youth group,
Thanks.
to get some real life experience with.
I'll be honest, the thing I'm struggling with most is coming up with games. So,
Yeah, learning
So-
how to back up a
hey
trailer.
kids,
Yeah.
let's learn how to back up a trailer. And then also we can learn how to measure anchor rope.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
And then we'll do message time.
But the crazy thing is, during this entire time, kids are doing stuff, and I'm like helping, and then I go over and I would talk to one of the youth leaders, and I was just like, dude, my arm feels weird. Mm-hmm. And my arm just feels dead. Just tingle, like numb, entirely numb.
In your dream?
In my dream. And then and I'm going up to people and I'm like, what is wrong? Because in reality, I'm laying there in bed and my arm is just dead. I cut off the circulation. So there's just no blood flow and there's
you
just
did that
nothing.
on
There's no
purpose?
feeling. No, it just did because of how I was
The
sleeping.
way you said it is because I cut off the blood flow.
Yeah. No, but like, so in the dream, I'm walking around and I'm like helping with the kids, having fun, and then I go up to Megan and I'm just like, "What's wrong with my arm?
Yeah.
Can you fix this? Because I'm
She's
like
a veterinarian.
I'm rubbing it and
You
it's
know.
like nothing's coming back.
Yeah.
And then I have to go help kids. I come back, Jack, dude, I got to do something about my arm. I'm afraid it's gonna fall off and I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And then I go over, like it was either to Shay or Nick, and my hand is like curling. It's like clawing on me, and I can't control it. And I'm just like, and it's starting to hurt in that position. And I'm like, I need help. Please help me. And then we go back and we're like doing anchor stuff, and my hand's just like, and it's hurting worse and worse and worse. And then like that's constantly like I'm freaking out, getting more and more and more freaked out. And then I kind of like start to wake up, and then all of a sudden I open my eyes a little bit, like the super groggy half sleep. I'm coming out of the dream, and I'm gonna go check my phone what time it is, and I'm like, nah. And I just start to roll over, and then all of a sudden something just falls and hits me in the face, right in the eye.
In real
And
life?
I wake up and my arm was asleep. But when I was thinking about going to my phone, I flexed my bicep. So my arm just came and it hit me in the face, right in the eye. And it was so uncontrollable. I couldn't feel my arm at all. So I didn't even know that was happening. And it just hits me in the face, wakes me up. I'm jolted awake. Like, what's going on? And then my arm's just not conscious, you know? But yeah.
Your arm did that to you.
Yeah.
Some sort of spirit.
Yeah. I needed to be woken up at 6:30. Yeah.
Did you get up on time
I mean, then
because of that, or?
I mean, not really. The dog started whining like a little bit after that, so I just took him out and stuff.
Okay.
But like, it was just
Dude.
no.
that's
But
funny.
yeah, if we needed any, like, if we were really crunch time youth group, you know, teach them like anchor stuff. And I think that the better thing is just teaching them how to actually direct a trailer.
That's
Because
actually useful.
A useful skill that like everybody learns it completely differently. So if
Yeah.
we raise a new generation doing it the same way, and
Our youth
Jacob actually does it like for a job and like has like the actual
His job is
stuff.
backing up trailers. That's all he does.
No, but like he
What do you
works
do for
with
a living?
heavy machinery.
I back up trailers.
And but he knows how to do it, and he does
Right.
the right things. And then you guys were like, "What are you trying to do?" When like it kind of looks obvious, but like if you're looking through a mirror, not knowing, you know. So if we train them all, it would work. I think it's a great idea.
Youth group has been going well, but one thing that, has been kind of difficult is like, man, I feel like no matter what, there's going to be some kids that don't like the game. So we've structured the youth group at Creekside Bible Church to be, it's a 2-hour thing instead of an hour and 15 or hour and 30, like lots of them are. And they get there and then we just kind of play like a game or something for 30 minutes, which is pretty typical. But we want it to be the less focused thing there, but it does serve a purpose because it's a middle and high school youth group. So it kind of gets their wiggles out a little bit, and also in some ways, hopefully incentivizes maybe some kids that just want to hang out and do something to be there. And then we,
Have an action,
Yeah,
have the
'cause-
message and worship.
because youth
and-
group serves a different purpose than church does, right? Youth group is even more, I think, evangelistic than a Sunday service. I think it has to be because your goal is to evangelize to the kids in your area, right? And to get them interested and then hopefully raise them and disciple them in the church. And so, that has been a thought process that's gone into how we plan just the general structure of it too. Is like, it does serve a slightly different purpose than Sunday service. And it should never look to replace it too. So I have to make sure it serves a different purpose because I don't want the kids to ever go, well, I go to youth group, so I'm not going to go to church. Like that would be terrible.
That would be.
So yeah, the game time though can be a challenge. So that's a great idea. Teach them how to anchor a boat, how to back up a trailer. The backing up a trailer thing is actually good though.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I hadn't thought about that, but everybody thinks about doing it differently.
Yeah.
Like,
And then it's so confusing. And then most of the time the people are just like, I'm just going to do it.
The person in the back isn't actually helping. I'm just doing what I would do if they weren't there.
Yeah.
Which the last time I helped someone back up a trailer was Matt. And I was like, that though was different because I tried and then he was just not looking at me. And I was like,
because
I realized he's doing what he would have done
Yeah.
if I wasn't here, and so I stopped. And
Because
then he was
like
fine.
I think that the like most helpful thing, like because there's so different ways of like doing it, is literally just
Being
having
there.
someone there to tell you when to stop.
Yes, that is exactly it. That's
Like,
the most helpful thing.
That's all the people are like really looking for. Because
Yeah.
like the rest of it isn't helping a whole lot.
Dude, I
'cause
backed
everybody
Matt.
has.
Matt and I went to the dump one time, and at the dump, you like pull up, and then they go, okay, go ahead, go take that spot, or you wait, okay, now go take that spot. And Matt drives in, and he's like, oh man, I didn't want to have to do this spot, but they guide you, and so it's like, or they tell you where to go, so
Yeah.
you have to go. And I'm like, here, I'll get out and help you back up. And Matt's not here to defend himself, so I won't go too far, but he did not know what he was doing, and I certainly wouldn't have either. I'll say that right off the bat. I would have done just as bad, if not worse, of a job. But Matt was, 10 times easily. Like going straight for someone's car. I'm like, do, stop. Pulls it forward. I'm like, okay, just go straight back, straight for the other guy's car. No. It happened, and it was hilarious. And then other people are coming over, like, do you guys need help? And Matt's like, no, I can do it. It was pretty funny. So
To be fair, he has gotten a lot better backing up a truck.
yeah, you
like,
do something like that long enough,
like he's been doing it like.
it's not like he's been doing this
More
30 years and he
times,
sucks at it. It's just that.
But now he's
it's-
like done it like 10 times.
Yeah, now it's just his responsibility, or more often than not, has become his responsibility,
Because
and
he's
not something he's consistently done. So yeah, it's the same as like when I started working at Susie Q's back in the day. I hadn't consistently driven a box truck around and backed up a box truck.
That's
And the first
true.
few times I did it, it was terrible. But by the end, I was like, I can do this all day long. And now, I like my own car. I'm way better at backing into spaces and stuff.
Dude, you go so fast when you're backing into places.
That's not true. I don't go so fast when I'm backing into all places.
No.
The
But
only
the place,
time you've been with me is a place I back into at probably twice a day.
Yeah.
Which is this, there's along the side of this fence by the house that Perry and I live at. I have to back up because it's too difficult to try and like turn around when you're down this drive. And with Levi one time, I go faster than I did that time usually. But you were in the car, so I just and it was dark outside, so I just went a little slower. But I do go back pretty because it's just a straight shot. But yeah, I just have done it a lot, so I know right where I'm at and I know where to look to see the line, and we're good.
No, yeah.
But there were some people out in front of the house the other day, and I did it, and they were like, because I just was in Perry's car too, so it's even easier.
She's got a small.
She's got a go-kart.
Yeah.
But yeah, youth group, that's a good idea. Youth group has been fun. We haven't talked about it a whole lot on the podcast,
No,
but
we haven't.
it's been going well. We've been doing it for almost 4 months now. And we've got a consistent 10 to 15 kids every week, which is really cool. And I've loved it. At the very beginning, it was nerve-wracking, like moving up to it. And then for the first month and a half, it was really nerve-wracking because it was this thing that like, we're going to start this youth group. Great. Jerry, you're going to run it. Okay, here we go. And I wasn't just okay, like I wanted to. And then the very beginning, here's an event we're going to run, an Orbeez battle. Orbeez, those little like, gel blaster guns. It's like, cool, that'll get a lot of kids to show up. And it did. We had like 54, which was
It was a
terrifying.
lot of kids.
We're like, if this is what we get every week, obviously it's not. This is our first big event.
It was like an actual war zone.
But it was wild. And then that next week we had 10, and then we had 22, and so it's just kind of like till it's about.
But now we're
probably
surfing.
I think most weeks we have like 12 or 13 kids.
Yeah.
So that's been cool. I mean, that's in my experience, that's a good sized youth group. Growing up, I went to a youth group that was between 4 and 10 kids, and then like so having consistently 12 or 13 is kind of what was my dream. I was like, oh, that'd be a perfect spot to just be comfortable. Cause like it's enough students that there's, they all have friends and it can be fun and it doesn't feel like, hey, we're going to play, dodgeball. There's 2 people per team, like stuff like that you can still do. And then if something that we try and do is have like group discussion time, it'd be really hard to separate them all up into groups if there's just 4 of them, it would just be like, okay, get in your groups of you and 2 leaders. Like that would not work very well. So the
Except
number
for
we're
the
at
girls.
is great.
That's
how it always is.
That's how it always is.
The girls is usually between 2 and 4 girls,
and then
4 if they're lucky.
And then we've got
we've got two
or
leaders.
3 leaders.
So
it's like
that's fine. What that means is, Levi, there's room for growth.
no, that is
We don't
that's
have
true.
to get
That's true.
more women leaders. We've already got them.
We've already got them.
But so I was at this youth pastor conference recently, and this came up, the whole like leader number of volunteers thing. So I got invited to our in our denomination, our church's denomination, which is the Northwest Baptist Convention. They got a bunch of the youth group or the youth pastors together, and I had the privilege of going. It was really cool. It's the first time they've done something like this in a while, and I think it's something they're going to keep doing. But it was incredible. I was going into it just knowing, you know, I should be there. I've been doing this for like 3 months, and so I need some help. And I when I got there, the guy leading the, you know, presentations and training was like, okay, everybody, let's go around and tell me what you're hoping to get out of this over the next 2 days. And everybody had good answers, and my answer was just, I'm hoping to get some wisdom and some accountability, hopefully from people that have been doing this longer than I have, because it's only been 3 months. And I definitely got that and more. But dude, it was really interesting when talking to most of the people there, and we had moments of breakout sessions where we kind of talk about like, you know, what things are you struggling with as a youth group, and what things are your strengths, and, you know, talking about that. I think it's called SWAT. It's like a method of, it's like a teamwork, organizational training kind of thing. That's, I guess, pretty popular, called SWAT. It's like strengths, weaknesses, observations, or opportunities and threats. Yeah. And you talk about those, and we had other things too. But during that one, the weakness on most of them was like, I only have 2 leaders, me and my wife, and then one guy that helps 50% of the time. And I was like, literally in our strengths, I put, because I was self-aware enough to realize like, we have a lot of leaders. That's a huge blessing. And so I put it on there. So then it was my turn to present, and 5 people had just gone before and been like, our strengths. So, you know, we have good kids, or like our strengths were gospel centered, you know, like we preach the gospel every week, things like that, which are good things. And then their weakness, not enough volunteers, and then something else, you know. And I present, it's like strengths. We have 8 leaders. And I was like, actually, I said first, like, you know, this might put a target on my back a little bit, but, you know, it is one of our strengths. It's a great blessing. And hearing you guys just really talk about it really emphasizes why it's such a blessing, and I should be grateful. And I am, is that we have 8 leaders. Like, that's a huge thing, or, you know, upwards of 8, you know, 6 to 8 leaders. And then they're like, and so then I became like, to many of them, many people asked me like, as if I was an expert on this.
How did you get those leaders?
So what did you do, presuming that at one point I didn't have them and had to go and get them, which isn't what happened. No. I just had them from the beginning. They were asking me like, so what did you do to go and get them? And I just told them like, well, I guess I asked. Like, that's all I did, you know, and they all wanted. And part of why we started the youth group is because there were many people at the church that said, hey, if there was ever a youth group, I would want to be involved. And so it just worked out that way. And then we still had more than we thought we'd have. Like,
and so many of us had big conversations like between each other about like, we want to, like, youth group is so important, and we want our church to have one, since we're starting to see some like younger people, and like if we can, we'll be leaders in it. Like,
yeah. And even at the time when we were saying we're starting to see younger people, there were only 2 people at the church that were of middle high school youth group age, right? But it was just like, even if there's only 2, we also meet at a school, a Christian school, so we could easily get kids that may not have a youth group to go to from there. And that's where we basically have built this pool. Yeah. There's still 2 to 3 kids that go to church on Sunday that are really from the church, and that's why they're at the youth group, and the rest of them are from that school. But like, you know, so that was interesting. Yeah. It was funny to just like have these volunteers, and I'm pretty certain, even out of there were some youth groups that had like 50 to 75 students, and I still had more volunteers in our youth group than they had in theirs.
That's wild.
Yeah. It's just usually that's like the, not the meme, but like that's the thing. All youth groups, like that's kind of the thing, is like, I don't have enough volunteers.
I guess the youth group that I like primarily remember going to, like, we had 3, maybe 4 volunteers, and there was like 20 something students.
That's what's made me, because I started thinking about the youth group I went to when it was 10 or 12 people, or 10 or 12 students, and it had, I think, 2 or 3 leaders. Yeah. And that's what made me, before going to this conference, realize like, man, we really need to be grateful for this. Like, we have between 6 and 8 leaders. Sometimes there's almost as many leaders or sometimes there's about the same number. Like, that's crazy. And so I mean, we had enough leaders to handle 50, and we have the same number of leaders when we have 10, right? So crazy.
What does God have in store for us?
Well, that's part of, so going to this conference, you know, it was at the perfect time because taking this position at church and taking on this responsibility, I was like, man, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I do have a great mentor who's going to help, and I have a great group of volunteers who are going to help, right? And so Matt has been mentoring me in how to do this right, and like just how to structure it, and like at the beginning, but then saying, you know, you're going to do this and get a lot of experience, and later on you're probably going to change it, and that's fine. You know, just make sure your changes are centered on God and that they have purpose and all that stuff, right? So I knew from the beginning I have the support I need to make this work, but at some point it was going to come down to like, where are we going from here, right? Mm-hmm. And so after about 3 months, I remember thinking, after a youth group where I think it was more Perry stayed home and I went home afterward, you know, and it was like, oh, I had done this one on my own, like without my wife too. And I had gone and set everything up before you guys got there. And then when you guys got there, had you guys help me set the rest of it up. And then we did it and then went home. And it was through telling Perry when she was like, how'd a youth group go? That it made me realize, oh, we've kind of got this down now. Like, and we have for a little bit. Because usually you don't really realize that you've got something figured out until you realize you've had it figured out for a little while too, right? And so it was realizing that like, oh, I went to start like preparing the message for the next week, and I was like, I am enjoying this. I have been enjoying it for a little while. It doesn't make me nervous anymore. And other than like just new, like specific elements of it, but like the general preparation and the expectation of it doesn't make me nervous. I feel confident that we're doing a good job and that it can be continued, right? That we can keep replicating what we're doing. And I was like, this is a great place to be. Like, I feel really good. And I told Perry, and we just took that time to pray about it and thank God for that. Cause like, we need to, I think, thank God for those times where he shows us that things are going well, you know, and that it's, and really at the end of the day, that was something that we prayed for. Like, God, please work in us so that this does go well, and that we can do a good work for you and do a good work for these students so that it's impactful. And so sitting there after like almost 3 months of doing it and really feeling that way, I was like, okay, this is great. And so then I go to prepare the message for that next week, and I start thinking like, okay, I know what we're doing and where we are, and it's working. I was like, but we have to have a direction. And that's when, you know, I had called Cyrus, who was my youth pastor growing up, or I had talked to him on the phone. He had called me, and we had talked about a bunch of stuff. And one of the things was that this is what I'm doing now. And he's like, well, that's great. You know, I'll give you some advice. And one of the things he told me was, if you're going to be doing this, you know, you have to have a plan. Like, you can't just keep doing youth group every week. And he wasn't assuming that I didn't, but it was probably a safe assumption. He's like, you can't keep doing youth group every week and just always hope every week, like, okay, what are we going to do this week, right? What are we going to do this week? And that's true of like any task, right? You need to have some plans and some goals, because eventually you'll run out of stuff. And then also you'll just be slowly doing it worse. But that's really, really important, right? If what you're doing is ministry. So he's like, have some plans, you know, and I would have a 1, 3, and 5 year plan. Like, this year, what do you want to teach the kids? In 3 years, you know, what goals do you want to have achieved within the youth group? Whether it's a number of events run, a number of students, maybe it's a specific number of confessions of faith, you know, and I don't think he suggested that, but it was just another one I considered, but that's a more difficult one, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's
especially with the group that we're using.
Yes. Our demographic they're all private Christian school students already. So, but yes, no, like, that's just another thing to throw in there. Like, it could be a goal. Yeah. That one actually came out of that conference. Somebody said in theirs they wanted to get a number of confessions of faith, but and I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, so it's like, okay, yeah, I need to be doing that. And so when I sat there thinking like, man, things are going well, it really reminded me that I had received this advice that was like, okay, now where are you going? And this conference thing couldn't have come at a better time, because walking into it, I told them what I'm expecting is hopefully some wisdom and some accountability. And I walked away from that conference going, now I know where we're going, which was really cool, because I didn't walk into it thinking that's what I'd get, was a foundation for how to run youth group, where the youth group should go, what goals we should have, and all of that. And now I have a structure for our youth group. And that was huge, because that's what I needed. And I had been kind of thinking in the back of my head that I needed to figure out. But all I expected to get out of this conference was just like a lot of fellowship and networking with other youth groups, and maybe I could glean ideas from them, but then walking away. That was basically what the training was, which is interesting because many of those people in there had been doing this for 3 to 10 years. But for them, I think it was great to be like, oh, here's a refresher to recenter ourselves and give ourselves a new direction if we had one, or a direction if we didn't and have been just doing this for so long. But then for me and another guy who had been doing it both for 3 months, it was like, you just started this, here's making a structure and a direction. And I don't know if that other guy didn't already have one, but I know for me, I didn't. So it was great. And I got to take Perry with me, which was also really helpful because there was another guy that really needed this. And I talked to him a lot. And during this part, there was like a breakout session where they're like, okay, go over to that wall, stick this piece of paper to the wall, write your mission statement on it as a church or as a youth group. And then under it, put these 6 specific things. I don't remember what each of them were. I think it was like service, prayer, and then 4 other things. And that can be used to achieve that mission, right? And write down examples of those within the youth group to achieve the mission. And then under that, put action items, essentially things to do in order to achieve those goals, to achieve the mission, right? So this big pyramid. And we had like 30 minutes to do it.
Pyramid scheme.
Yep. That's what I was calling it. Our pyramid scheme to an effective youth group. And there was a guy next to me, really nice guy named Steven. And he was having the same struggles that we were for the most part with like, okay, well, thinking of examples, like what are things we can put down here? But the great boon I had was I had my wife right there. So I had someone that I could be like talking it through, and then she could be like talking back, basically a sounding board, but also someone else who's not just a sounding board, where things that I don't think of, then she's like, well, what about this? Hugely impactful. And poor Steven, he did a great job. Like he had just as many great points for his, because then we went and presented them. But he was like, dude, he's like, I'm looking at yours and you guys have all these things written down. And he had quite a few written down too. But at that point we had more. He's like, how do you have so many things? And I was like, honestly, it's nothing about you. It's just that I have another person who's really good at this also. Like, and that's making it go really well. And I was like, because I feel the same way you do, but there's 2 people over here feeling that way. And so it's just getting more done. He's like, that's what I need. I need my wife. So that was great. And it was good too, because she's my partner in this. Mm-hmm. And so it was good that we walked away. Not only did it make it more effective in us creating that plan, but walking away, we're both on the same page as far as what the plan is. So yeah, now we're just going to take that structure and kind of synthesize it down, and I'm going to present it to the elders at church just to make sure that everything is. I want to make sure there's as much accountability involved as possible, but I don't think that we have any plan that's bad. But I want to get them involved in it, and then once they're like, "Yep, move forward with this," then I'm going to do the same thing and present it to the leaders, youth group, the volunteers. And then we're going to move forward. But some of those things we're already implementing, like some prayer stuff and all that. But but all that to say, this youth conference was great for the youth group. I don't know how much of all that information that people listening will really get out of, all that. There is a lesson in this, though, that I learned. Going to this youth conference was difficult because I knew I wanted to go, months ago when it had been scheduled. I was excited for it. Mm-hmm. But then in that time of it getting scheduled and me going, something really important happened, which is Jaret's dedication to Christ, right? We talked about this in a previous episode, but Jaret is our buddy, and he shared his testimony here on the podcast, and we talked about how he was newly dedicated to Christ. He wanted more of Christ in his life, and that is something that Levi and I had prayed for 10 years, basically, and that was huge. And then the week before this conference, or 2 weeks before, we had referenced this on the podcast, there was a sermon Matt gave where he talked a lot about baptism. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at Jaret and seeing just the desire, and they're like, I'm going to do that. And then he went and talked to Matt about it, right? So then now I'm looking forward to this baptism. And so the week before the conference, Jaret comes up and goes, hey, I scheduled a baptism. I'm getting baptized. And Matt's going to do it. And I'm really excited. And obviously, you've been a huge part of this. I want you there, and I'm like, I'm there. When is it? And he's like, it's on the 27th of August, which actually is today.
Oh, that's wild.
He's like, it's on the 27th. And I was like, oh, I can do that. Like, I know I can be there. That's amazing. And then later that same day, he comes back and goes, sorry, Matt's going to be in Hawaii. So we had to change it. Now it's on the whatever it was, the 21st or 22nd,
The 20th,
the 20th.
a week ago.
Yeah, it was a week ago today, so the 20th.
Yeah.
And he's like, now it's on the 20th. And I was like, that's the second day of this conference that I'm already going to, that I know I'm supposed to go to and I need to go to. I can't go, and that was just devastating. Because, if you had somebody that you look at like a brother and you've been praying for 10 years, and that God has used you also, and that you mean something to them. And I mean, I was the best man in his wedding, and I lived with the guy for a long time. And if you've watched that episode, you know how much that meant to us to know he was getting baptized. Like, that just was a bummer. I was really upset. And then I decided, like, well, maybe I can miss this first conference thing, because it was an in-person conference, and there's going to be 5 Zoom calls afterward to kind of break it down more. And then we're going to have another in-person meeting later. So there's 6 Zoom calls, because it's like this 8-month thing that we're doing. And I was like, maybe I can just miss this one, and I'll go to Jaret's baptism. Because not only is that what I wanted to do, it also felt like, man, that's probably something that I should do. Like, I should be there. I've been a huge part of his life. And he wants me there, so I should be there, right? And also a huge part of, some of his testimony was feeling like the people that he expected to be there in his life wouldn't be there. And I told him, I'll be there. I'll be one that's not going to leave you. And so I also felt like, man, I should be there. But then just praying about it and talking to Perry about it was like, I know that I should go to this youth conference because this training, because God has called me into this ministry. God has called me to lead it. And it would be wrong to shirk that responsibility, because at the end of the day, I knew the reason I would be not going and instead going to Jaret's is just because that's what I wanted, even though it's kind of a good thing. Sometimes there can be 2 good things, but choosing one of them is wrong because you want it rather than what God wants, Mm-hmm. And I knew to choose that, it was because I want it. But it was clear that God wants me to be in youth ministry. God wants me to be doing this. God's made that really clear in my life. And so I know it was wrong. And then also Jaret had other people there. You were there. I knew that people in the church, like Chris, had talked about going, Shibbles. But other people in the church, I was like, there's going to be other people there. And if nothing else, it could be an opportunity even for him to be like, oh, Jerry has consistently been here, and just because he's not at my baptism doesn't mean he's not going to continue to be there. But also, maybe it would demonstrate to him more if I wasn't there, the others that were there, right? And so that he could then see, oh yeah, I'm a member of the body of Christ, so I have this whole family now,
Mm-hmm.
And so the moral, if there is one, just the end of it all, hugely encouraging for me was. Going to that conference, being trained. Then after it was all done, at the beginning they had said, what are you expecting to get out of it? After it was all done, they went around to all the people in the room again, because there was like 15 or 20 of us. And they're like, what's something you learned or something that you're walking away with that you didn't expect to walk away with? And when I shared, I just said, honestly, I got the things that I wanted out of this, but I got way more because, and I said all the things I already said, which is like, I've been doing this 3 months and I didn't know what our direction was. And I didn't have a structure and I didn't have those things. And I would not have expected a 2-day training for me to walk away feeling like I could do this for like 5 or 10 years with actual goals. And now I do. And that is huge. And so I'm really glad I was here. And they're like, oh, good. Right. And then they moved on to the next person. But then I went up to the guy that had asked that question later privately and just told him, hey, I really want you to know how much this has meant to me and how much, how impactful this has been and how much we needed this. And I told him that I said, one of my best friends was getting baptized today, somebody who I prayed for like 10 years. And I wanted to go to that instead. And I think you should know, like, obviously I should want to go to that. And I was like, but honestly, and no offense, Jaret, I'm glad I was here and not there, right? Because I know it's what I needed and I know it's what God wanted. And he was like, oh, good. Like that I was just trying to get across, like, this is how much I know this is really where God wanted me. Because it was great, and I'm excited to move forward with that in youth group. But no, that's, I guess, if nothing else, when we were talking about like things we could talk about on this episode, and I realized, oh, that would be good to share. I think it's just something that I want when looking back, we kind of joked earlier about looking back at old episodes and how cringy it is. It's really cringy just because like I felt like I was a different person then, and I've grown a lot. And you prayed before this episode, thank you, God, for changing things in us and how we have changed, and you have changed us as we've been doing this and praying for more. I think one of the things that we always set out to do, and sometimes we lose sight of with this podcast, is that we do also want to demonstrate to people just somehow, or sometimes the ways that God is changing our hearts, and just sometimes the things that we are learning. And so sometimes this podcast will just be us going like, you know what, here's this thing I did, and I think this is what God taught me through it. And I think we've kind of lost a little bit of that. Not lost it, but we've tried this season a lot to make more of a show out of it, right? And do more segments, and that's good, and we need to do that because it will help it be more repeatable. But then at times, I think it's good if we just kind of do check-ins and be like, hey, this is something that I did, and I think this is what God taught me through it, right? And so as we kind of talked about, maybe talking about this, I realized, that would be good to do that, because I had just noticed today in watching those or listening to some of those old episodes, I was like, that was more clearly and presently on display, because at the beginning we were real dummies, and then through that first season we really started to shape up, and then we've just shaped up more through God's hand in our lives. And so I think it's good to do that. So glad to get to share that. But also we have a video here. With that whole baptism, I was able to go, and I think that more important than you like not being there was the fact that God was there. Yeah. And because it was so crazy, we have a video that we'll show in a second, but we get there, and it's only a few of us that are there. Because of the change in times, there was quite a few people that weren't able to show up, but that was all right, because when we get there, we're looking out at the ocean. Literally, it's like picture perfect, beautiful day, like incredibly beautiful, like sun's out, hardly any clouds. We're on the Oregon coast, and it's slightly warm. Which, for those that don't know, that's almost never.
That doesn't happen.
It only happens for a few days over the course of a few weeks of August, basically.
Like it's very rare that actually happens.
And that's I'm saying that for you, Mikey Noodles. You're the one that every single time I'm in a video call with you, you go, "Is that sun outside I see behind you?" Yes, I know that we've got cloud cover, dude. I was in Crescent City, California. I'll tell that story later, maybe. But dude, it was bad. I was in California, and it was worse than it is here. So I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay.
Anyway,
it's bad here.
Picture perfect
but we
day.
Love it.
Incredible, beautiful, and we're down there. We're walking up to the coast, and then we go over this little ridge, and we're hearing like it's really, really loud. We get over the hill, and there are massive waves on like this side of the beach, and we're just like, "That's wild." Okay, let's not go there. Let's find somewhere else. We pan a little bit, and then there's calm waters. And we're like, okay, we'll go over there. So we walk a little bit. Which
I find interesting.
We see the calm waters.
Because of Matt. But because like Matt's whole thing with the Oregon coast. Like,
I mean, because it was wild wave. Like almost surfable waves. like not quite. But like it was big waves really close.
Big enough that like you couldn't even venture out.
Let's go over here.
Yeah.
So we go over there, and it's barely anything. We start walking, before we walk out, we pray, we all bow our heads, we pray over what is about to happen, so that everyone there knows why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
And making sure that God is the foremost, reason for everybody being there.
Right.
It's not because it's a nice day. It's not because of anything else. It's because we're showing the impact and power and the role that God is playing in Jaret's life specifically. And then we talk about what is going to be said once we're in the water before he's baptized and how that's all going to go down. And then we make sure our towels are in people's hands and not going to just be on the ground, to take off our shoes, make sure that somebody has a phone so that they're going to record it.
Right.
And then we venture out into the water, and we step out into the water, and it's pretty calm. First little over your feet, and it's whoa, that's really cold, because Oregon coast, it's very cold water.
Yeah, even on a warm day.
And then larger wave comes. woof, and it like pushes me away. And then I look over and I see that there's another bigger one coming. And I'm like, Jaret, grab my hand.
Because Jaret's walking backwards, right?
No. He's walking forwards.
Oh, no.
But I'm behind him because I just got sent by a wave.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, Jaret, grab my hand or else I will die.
Oh.
So I grab onto his hand. We start going out there more. And then there's another wave. And it goes from ankle to knee to waist, like
Really quick.
so quickly. We're like in the video, we're like 20, maybe 30 feet into the water.
Yeah, you're not far
Like
from the shore.
we are not far at all.
You guys picked a part that dips down
and
quick.
it's already up to our belly button.
Yeah.
And then we begin it, and we can go ahead and play the video of what starts happening once we're out there. So we get some waves that start.
It's already pretty big.
We're trying to jump over it.
Here it is. Boom.
So you can pause the video there. All right.
You double-clicked.
So what's crazy is during this, we're standing there, and this is when Matt is starting to talk to Jaret about like these are the questions and going through the questions to make sure that he is a believer, and that he knows why he's going to be baptized and like understands
Very
everything
important.
that's going on. So he's starting to ask the questions and is about to when. And so Jaret is looking back towards the coast, not seeing any of the waves that are coming.
No.
So anytime anything's coming, we're like, all right, big one's coming.
Jump.
And then he's seeing us jump, and every time wind is just being knocked out of him as he's just flying.
Yeah.
But that big one that goes over our heads entirely, during that, he was telling me that he was like, every time that a wave would come, he would sit there and then like he would see us jump and then he would start to jump as well.
Yeah.
But during that one, he sees me jump and then he sees Matt start to jump and just go like this. And he was like,
Why is Matt
I'm
turning?
going to die.
Matt turning like coward or like
But
covered
it
his
was
head?
like, because you could see it's a foot over his
yeah.
head. But, and then through that, he started to ask questions and he's about to baptize and then says, we got to wait for this wave.
Yeah.
And then you can continue.
Can
the
you
video.
start it over? I
Yeah,
want to watch it all the way through instead of breaking it up.
Yeah, sorry. I had just paused it for that one.
Yeah.
And sorry for the quality. It was filmed on an iPhone.
It's crazy how far you guys got pushed a little bit here and there, but that one just completely pushes you over.
Yeah.
So cool. And then you just quickly waddle back out and
now we're back to, yeah.
it's still a good sized wave, that one.
Yes. And right as he
See,
comes
another
back up.
that one was the one that moved Jaret
Yeah.
quite a bit too.
But now, by the time that large wave came back out,
Yeah.
we're like 15 feet away.
And look-
but then that's the thing.
It's silent.
Like, this is the last wave that happens. That last one that brings us
Yeah.
onto shore. From that point on, it was calm waters. Like,
and
you
even
can hear,
that last one was pretty calm.
like, we have the volume really turned down because it was so incredibly loud, all of the waves. Like, we're basically shouting to each other when we're out there, and you can't hear it by like on shore. And but once we got back, we started drying ourselves off and we're talking, and we're like, we're talking normal, and we look out and the sea is just calm. Like, there's like maybe 3-inch waves is all that's coming in. Like, and that's it.
So something that matters to probably talk about, we should have talked about before we said all this, is so the reason that Matt likes to baptize people on the in the ocean here is the Oregon coast specifically is known. I mean, ocean waters are pretty tumultuous, right? More so than others. But like the Oregon coast is often really, really difficult, right? It's like we said, always very windy. It's always cold outside. The waters are always freezing cold. Not literally, right? But very cold. And they are big waves and stuff, right? And so the reason he likes to baptize people, right? So for example, he's a Bible teacher at a Christian school, and consistently every year he'll take some kids out that want to be baptized, and he always tells them, "This is how I do it." And the reason is because he thinks it's a good analogy in a way for you to physically experience in a short period of time what the Christian life will feel like. And so, like you walking out into the ocean, slipping on cold, wet rocks, and getting knocked over by waves, and the breath is being knocked out of you, and you're having to be lifted up by others. All of those things, right, kind of symbolize in the Christian life how things are going to be. But the whole point is, you commit to it. You go out there and you do it because it's right and because it's worth it, right? Because this is what God has called you to. And so it has a lot of meaning and purpose in that. These things aren't necessary for baptism, right? Like it doesn't mean that someone being baptized, like I was baptized at my church in one of those tub things or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's the commitment that matters.
Horse trough for me.
A horse trough?
Yeah.
Like a legit horse trough?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
sweet. Yeah, I mean, similar, shibboleths, right? Horse trough, like that big, yeah, like where you're baptized, it doesn't change what it means. The commitment that you make in front of people, right? It is and the accountability that comes with it, right? All of those things are why we do it. And because we're told to, right? We're told that it matters. But Matt likes to do it this specific way. So it's even more interesting that like in starting it, everything is pretty calm, but still enough that Matt's like, this is still worth doing it in the ocean like this. And then it was just, Matt said on the phone, so he told me this story and he said on the phone, he's like, it was totally calm, right beforehand. And as soon as we walk out there, he's like, they were the biggest waves I've ever seen during a baptism I did. Like the biggest.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But then Jaret, when I texted him that day, so at the end of that conference, we actually got out early and it got out the day that you guys were doing it. And I was like, I might be able to make it. Like, I don't know what time they're doing it. And so when we actually, and I stayed a little bit later talking to those people, and it was worth it. There's no way I ever would have made it back on time. But still, when Perry and I leave Redmond to head back to Salem, and I'm like, hey, maybe if it's early enough and we'll make it, like, Perry, you want to go? And we're like, yeah, we'll do it. I text Jared, I'm like, hey, what time is the baptism? Because we got out early, I might make it. And he was like, it was 45 minutes ago. Yeah. I was like, that's fine. We'd already decided, like, I knew I wasn't going to make it. But then I asked him how it went. And this is before I talked to Matt. And he's like, it was so difficult. Matt said it was the hardest it's ever been. And he's like, the waves were taller than us. They knocked us over. The breath was knocked out of me and it was really difficult. And he goes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I was like, dude, well done.
It was such a cool, like, it was so like symbolic in so many ways and applicable to other walks in life, because we're sitting there, Jaret's back is turned like away from where the waves are crashing in, and he's relying on us beside him telling
Brothers
him when
in Christ.
waves are coming.
Yep.
And he's like following our example to jump when we're jumping or to cower underneath it when Matt
take
goes
cover.
underneath. Because you can see that I jump there and I get flung way farther than anybody else.
And Matt, bears down for a big one.
And they still get taken, but like, yeah.
Differently.
But differently.
You got thrown around.
Every single time a wave came, I was having to take like
Just
two
a
or
leaf in the
three
wind.
like leaps back.
It was
towards
very
them.
funny. Now that I know what you were thinking in that moment, like, Jaret, I have to hold on because I'm going to die. I can see that in the video. It's a different video of you guys walking up, but the way you're like,
Yeah.
catching up to him.
There's the intro video of us walking out, and it's like one over the ankles, and then there's one that like pushes me back, and then I'm trying to
'Cause they're still
run
way
up
ahead
to
of
him
you.
to grab his hand so
Yeah.
that I don't get washed away. Because then we found out that the current was going out, so like if a bad wave hit us, we could have
gotten.
Yeah, but no, and it was very cool because like God was definitely there because it was calm before, and then incredibly wavy, incredibly high, like Matt said, the largest waves that he's ever seen doing a baptism. And then once it was done, once we were walking back out towards land, it stopped.
Yeah, Matt was telling me that when that happened, like, he was commenting on it, and Jaret was like, I guess God had a point to make.
Yeah.
Like, Matt was like, whoa, it was silent before we went out there. While we were out there, it was treacherous, and then it silent when we were out. And Jaret's like, yeah, guess God had a point to make, And I think that's so cool. I think it's so cool that Jaret got to be a part of that too.
Yes.
But like, man, it's so cool for everybody involved.
Jaret was the one that was bringing up that point, first, like before anybody else did, which is like, it's just so cool to see Jaret bringing up God's impact just because we've known him for so long, but like
I'm proud of him, man.
the massive changes that have been made like by God in his life.
Yeah, he didn't need Matt to tell him that.
No.
It's like
Yeah.
it was readily apparent to him, like
And- yeah.
what this commitment means, that he's making it, that it matters, and that through that kind of experiential analogy or whatever that Matt likes to use the coast for, and that it works so well for. Jaret really is like, oh man, God took that point and God made it.
And
Matt didn't
he
make it.
had his family there as well.
Yeah,
So
that's what
that
I
was
heard.
able to be a good opportunity to bring up conversations because his kids are very little.
Yeah, I mean, it was his opportunity to lead by example for them, right? So if he, marrying into now being a husband and a father, it's like I talked to him a little bit about that, but like, dude, you're setting an example, right? You're looking at the bar that God has set, and you're doing your best to fall in line. And so for your kids now, you're kind of setting the bar, and that matters. Like, and it's something that you can't, not consider, right? That you must consider, I should say, not to use a double negative there, but that you must consider, and then must take responsibility and agency over and do to the best of your ability. And so I couldn't be more proud of the guy, setting the bar for those kids. And I hope that they are inspired by it, and that they follow his example, and that he continues to follow God so that he sets a good one. Because I loved getting to see the video. I think Byron sent it to me almost immediately.
Yeah.
And so Perry and I were sitting, because when I texted Jaret, it was like right after that I went and, I texted Jaret and he didn't respond for a little while. And then I had gotten the video from Byron. So I already knew when he texted me back that it had already happened. And we had watched the video, and then I talked to him about it, and he was like talking about how big the waves were. And I was like, dude, I could tell, like, you guys are getting thrown around. Like, that's so cool.
But and it was very cool because with the timelines, we're filming this in the past. Ooh. But the baptism happened the day before his episode came out.
Yeah.
So when his testimony dropped, he had been baptized.
Yeah.
For a day.
He talked to me about that and how that was pretty meaningful.
And so like the timing of that is super incredible because we talked about
how he was going to be baptized.
That he was going to be
and
baptized, and he had just been before.
So it is cool that it ended up getting moved forward a week. So that it kind of coincided on those 2 days. But yeah, no, super awesome. We're really proud of Jaret. We hope Jaret's episode is the one that came out most recently. It's been getting quite a bit of support. People have been talking about it and commenting on it and reaching out to him and stuff. And if you watched that episode and it was impactful to you, I encourage you not only just leave a comment there for Jaret to see, but reach out to him and let him know that it's not just his church that he's a part of, that he's a part of now that is supporting him, but let him know that the church worldwide, right, is supporting him. That that the church, God's children, are all over, and that they care about holding him accountable, just like they care about holding us accountable and each other accountable. And this is a big step, and there really is some truth to the saying that when you are consciously choosing to fall in line to the will that God has for you, that things will get more difficult often because we have an enemy, and we have an enemy that won't necessarily waste his time with those who aren't trying to please God. And so, it's not going to be easy for Jaret. And I think it's good if people around him remind him that they've got his back because they love him, because God first loved us, right? So reach out to him, let him know that you love him, and that that he's doing the right thing, and that and encourage him in that, because I want more people than just us to do that. And more people have, but I think that's been cool to see. That episode, things aren't always about views, but it has been cool to see that, like, the few episodes before that were in like the 40-50 view range or something like that, on YouTube. And then that one has got quite a bit more. And some family of his and family of mine have reached out to him. And so that's been cool to see. But
to bring that all back to the theme of the season, which we haven't been bringing up enough, it's been like all of our episodes have been like laced with it. Like,
yeah, maybe not all, but
I mean, most of them have had something that
you can find a way to,
that you can find a way of like bringing it back to that theme that we had started out the season with.
Yeah.
But we never not every time bringing it back to that. But in this, you can see, like, when one falls, you've got somebody else to pick him back up.
How cool is it that God worked it out that, leading us to have the theme of this season be that, and that in this season we get to have Jaret on the show, which we weren't doing previously, right? We get to have him on the show now, and we get to experience his testimony, and his testimony is so entwined with that, right? With Christian brotherhood, so entwined with our lives being our friend and all of that, and then getting to see his baptism and all of, it all be taking part in this time. God's hand is just in all of it, and it's so cool that it gets to, I'm glad that you bring the theme up because I didn't think about that, how cool it is that, this season we got to have Byron on consistently and talking about that, but then having Jaret's baptism and everything just falls right in line with that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Cool. Well, we're nearing the end here, but before we finish, Levi had an idea. We've talked about this before a long time ago.
Yeah. So a long time ago, we've talked about it on the podcast like briefly, but now that we have video and we have a way of like reacting.
I guess we talked about it in season 2, didn't we? When we didn't have video.
Yeah.
And no way to react.
And no way to actually like show like.
Which was probably a good thing.
Maybe. But I think that it is hilarious. But a long time ago, for those that don't know,
7 years ago.
7 years ago, we were really close friends, like we still are. But we decided to make a short film, because we had been like really into.
Way to use the word film to make it sound better than it is.
It's a short film.
Sure.
YouTube,
Yeah.
It's a YouTube.
It makes it sound more.
It's a YouTube video that we had.
Well, I mean,
like, we scripted. We worked hard on scripting and making sure that
we were calling
followed.
it like, let's make a movie. Let's make a short film.
And we were gonna make it like its own extended universe. Like we had
kinda, yeah. I mean,
we had talked about making plans to do that.
Oh yeah. I mean, you'll see at the very end. We allude to that.
Yeah.
We just like making stuff. We've always liked making content. All of us were in theater, and
this was like around the time that like Endgame was coming out. Like
no, this was probably loosely inspired by Rick and Morty or something.
Well, it was a little bit inspired by that, but like we were in like the golden days of Avengers.
Yes.
Like that kind of thing. And
but
we
the
were
time travel
very
element
into movies.
Yeah,
but that was like Rick and Morty based. But like we were really into movies, and we're wanting to like write like cool stuff because we're seeing all these cool like superheroes coming out and things.
So we wanted to make something. We thought it'd be fun. We wanted to make some fun little short films. So we made this one. We made another one. We had plans for other ones that we just never ended up doing it. But behind this one, the goal was like, let's make one that's kind of long, so close to 10 minutes, and it's 8 minutes and 59 seconds. And so it's the longest one we made. It happened because Jude and I were like, hey, let's just do this. And we made something really dumb. And it was one that was recorded all in the same location, just going back and forth between two walls. And we had fun making it. And then we're like, Levi, we should take this up a notch and make an even bigger one, and one that's more fun. And so that's where this one comes in. This is Levi's debut into this, us making stupid YouTube content, and as a trio. And then we had other plans. They've never ended up coming to fruition.
No.
So we're going to watch this together. It would be fun if Jude was here to react to this with us, but he's not. But you've got two of the three members of the cast here.
Writers and directors as well.
Writers, direct. Yeah, I'm only in this for a little bit because I was doing all of the like directing and filming for it. Well, we had the two stars, Levi and Jude.
Why doesn't approximately equal pi?
It's also really quiet. Sorry.
Yes.
Whoa, what do you want?
And over perfect darkness.
We sped it up a little.
Levi! Oh my gosh. I have to use a time machine. Undo what has been done. And finally use it for good.
Yeah, so
let's
the pacing's
pause
a
it.
little bit off.
Yeah,
When did all of
let's
this
remove the 1.25. I was wrong.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a long time for us to get through this, but it makes it hard to understand Jude. Also, just so people know, it's really quiet. I'm going to do my best in post to bring that audio up, but it is really quiet because we're filming this with an iPhone, and yeah, it's terrible. But basically, if you missed any of that because of how quiet it is or how fast it was, Levi's sitting there looking at some note. And also, we should probably do this every now and then for if there are audio
for
listeners.
the audio listeners.
Levi's sitting on a couch,
I'm
looking at some
going
notes.
through papers and of like scientific documents.
And then a masked gunman comes in and shoots him, takes him, leaves. Jude comes in and says, Levi, I got to use the time machine. I got to fix what's been done. And then here we are.
5 years. 5 years. I'll go back 5 years.
The number of times.
it's also child
Time travel.
Time travel.
Okay, pause it. I think we're going to do a lot of behind the scenes here as we go through, right? Jude, that line sounds terrible where Jude goes, 5 years. I'll go back 5 years because that's the way we wrote it. And we were thinking like, no, this makes sense on paper. Why does every time Jude say it, does it sound dumb?
Terrible.
Must be Jude's fault. So we did that line so many takes and it still sounds, that's the best one we took. Like,
It was great though.
this
And
is on top of the roof of
This
the
is
place
the
my dad used
roof
to live.
of the house that they were living at.
It had an attached warehouse where my dad ran his business out of. It was crazy, but yeah.
He's just on the roof cleaning himself off, running to the.
I remember this day.
So this is 5 years in the past.
I gotta get down there. I gotta warn him to stop Project Dark Matter.
Jude went back 5
How
years.
are we gonna make this happen? Funding. I could get colleges, universities, anything.
The fix.
All right,
Yeah.
Funding.
I'll get all the schematics and meet you in the lab. Go.
The way that I ran there, it was.
Levi.
You stop
Yeah,
and then turn.
so pause it. That literally just that turn
Yeah.
took so many takes to get the timing because we also had Jude coming off of the roof.
Yeah, so Jude climbs down from the roof while Levi's running around because this is the future version of Jude about to intercept the past version of Levi.
And but the timing to get that was so funny.
Yeah,
Like,
we did 20 takes and it didn't work.
and
There's
that's
a
why
reason
it looks so stunted of
and also
running forward and then turning.
why one of the scenes that we cut to here in a second that you'll see is filmed and it's way darker because it took us way longer to film this part.
Because we filmed all the outside stuff in the same day.
Yeah, so yeah, it's terrible.
So this is why this is so much darker because the sun
not
was
this.
No,
It's
no, no.
the next
it is
part.
versus when we were on the roof.
Yeah, but what I'm referencing,
But
you'll
yeah,
see
yeah,
it is a more
it's
drastic.
way more.
That doesn't matter as much as when we will cut back and forth between two two angles of that's supposed to be taking place in the same time,
Yeah.
the same moment, and when you go to one angle, it's dark, and the other one is this.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Shibs.
What happens to your pants? I'm Jude 5 years from the future. How do I know that you just changed? Okay. There's so much. I'm not enough time to explain. Dark matter. The first thing you do. I just found it out. We got it. Go get the funding. The first thing you do with dark matter is build a time machine. Here are the schematics for it. That's proof. Proof. It's too ahead of our time. It doesn't have lines. Listen,
I mean, incredible acting.
I can't let even see you anymore.
No, I need that.
You can't. It's too ahead of our time. We can't be tampering. It's like science. It's too much, Levi. Our world isn't ready for it.
That's here's the assassin.
Who's that? He's got a gun.
Our big scene.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. You shouldn't have messed with the timeline. That's my job.
No, wait.
Slow motion.
No. Change the future. Change the past.
Our big line. Change the future.
Change the future. Change the past.
All right, pause it real quick.
Okay.
There's something
but, so
about this whole thing that needs to be known, which is that we know it's campy.
yes.
That was partially the goal. But
Yes.
what's hard watching this back is even despite that, the stuff that we thought was cool is still hard to watch. But we purposely let's make a fun little story short film that's also purposely cheesy.
Yeah.
Like the change the future.
love the cheesiness of
Change
it.
the past.
I love
we
it.
put that in there. We made it on purpose like that, But yeah, no, there's a thing about your line right there that matters, right? In this area that we live, it's not the nicest part of town and it's not the most ghetto, but it is.
We're on the outskirts between the farmland and the ghetto
And
of the outer Salem area.
yeah, And it is a more crime ridden area. And so Levi yelling.
And so I have a tendency to have a problem. I've been getting better about it. But with volume control, I thought I was.
No, you have.
But so that line of where I say he's got a gun.
There's a take where Levi says it's so loud.
There are so many takes because I thought I was just saying because I'm trying to be in the moment and I'm like, he's got a gun, but I'm shouting it, and then every time that I would say it, they were like, "Dude, stop!" And I'm like, "What? I'm just saying the line."
It's like we're outdoors in a neighborhood, and someone's gonna hear you going, "Look, he's got a gun," you know, and so I think that one is the last one we did because we're like, that one will work. Let's not do it anymore.
And that one, I'm just like, he's got a gun.
Yeah, it was still, There's some outtakes where you really yell. And also, we just didn't use them because it was just so loud. But it was, and then it made Jude laugh or something because of how loud it was. And we're like, no, we can't laugh. We got to get this done.
But also that blood splatter scene. We had to do that multiple times to try and get the fingers because we would get the perfect amount going, but then you could see that our fingers were in the shot.
No,
because we were flicking
that's the one we used. I just cut it.
Did we just cut that?
I just cut it.
Okay.
So I just zoomed in a little bit because we only did it a few times because it would have been on your shirt more.
Yeah.
The reason we had to do it a few times is because there wouldn't be enough, but it was still not enough. Yeah, because
there were a couple times when it was just 2 drops.
Yeah. So Jude took, if you've ever had the stuff that you squirt into water, it's called Mio, or there's other versions too, but it's this
it's
flavoring,
super concentrated flavoring.
And Jude took a bunch of it on his hand and just went and just flicked it in Levi's face.
And
so it's this dark
red
shot
that we got
cherry water flavoring all over
my
his
face. And then down onto my shirt. We've ruined a couple shirts during this.
But we bought these white shirts for this, I think.
Yes, we did.
Okay, go for it. We're only a quarter through, or almost a third. Run. Around the van. The assassin just doesn't care.
Well, because he got the guy that he needed.
But
the guy that was messing with time.
It's just dumb. He should know better. You got the stuff.
It's gone.
Look, it looks like blood. It's great.
It does. It looks so good.
Use these plans. Build the machine.
I love that it's just got your dad's catering van.
But
yeah.
I'm gonna need my
product
shoe.
placement.
I'm gonna need see you in the
Yeah, don't point. Here's my only scene.
To get us started. That's all I'm asking for here. I mean, it's really small if you think about it.
That's the almost.
So this
I mean,
room.
we're talking about possibly
Yeah, you can pause it.
interdimensional travel.
This room is where we used to play D&D.
So this room is where we used to play D&D, and also where Jaret ended up crashing.
Yeah.
And
before the couch is there.
And this wall was just full of weapons.
My dad used to collect swords and medieval weapons and stuff, and we had them hanging up on that wall. And so the background.
But the only ones in the shot are the chain whip that's made of
little blades,
and the flail and the whip.
A whip. Yeah, it looks weird. But also the scene is, it's supposed to be that I'm the dean of theoretical science.
Yes.
And Jude is asking me for an investment so they can build their time machine.
We're wanting a grant funding
for their
build the time machine.
Well, not even actually. It's just to study dark matter because you guys have discovered dark matter.
Yeah. Because
and
we've
then
discovered it. Yeah.
Then the schematics that future Jude brings back, those schematics are a time machine. He goes, "This is how we apply dark matter," and you're like, "What?" So Jude is just asking me for $1 million loan or something, or grant, and I am really young and fat here. That's the thing to see. Really young and 70 pounds heavier. But all right, go for it. Levi and I were at 19, I think, or 18.
Well, I am the dean of theoretical science, but interdimensional travel is, very theoretical, and I think that's a bit ridiculous, but. I just don't think it's in the budget.
Not in the budget. I mean, you give out loans every single day to stupid college students who think they've conquered the world with new theoretical theorems. We have actual things here. It's such a small loan.
I don't see any actual things here, and so I don't think it's in the cards, my friend.
I've got it. I've got it.
I'm just covered in blood.
We can do it.
Do I need to call security, get an ambulance?
No.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. We have it. We have the rest
It's
of
an interesting Dutch angle too.
Yeah.
What is this?
Look at this.
I like
it. all
it.
makes sense.
It's kind of cool.
This is the key.
It looks like security footage.
We were
Yeah.
wrong here, but these are the corrections. And think about it. This is the next step.
This scene is so
This
long
is-
right here.
Yeah, it
You
is.
see,
Well, as far as theoretical science goes, I mean,
This is very
definitely
theoretical.
That's the second time that you
Yeah.
we used that.
Dark triangles have no lines. Y is not equal to pi.
Y is not equal to pi.
Why is not equal
doesn't it make sense?
Doesn't it make
Doesn't
sense?
it make sense?
Get these. I can tell you outside.
Where'd you get these?
Just please, sir. It's very
Let us
small.
finish this.
This brings new reality to these ideas. You know what? I'm feeling like taking a risk. I'll do it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Here, let me write you a check and get you out of the door. There's a lab just down the hall. You guys can go ahead and feel free to use. If you need the equipment, let us know. But here's your funding.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Come on. So you see, that's how I got the plans and all the blood.
I love
Okay.
pause.
Have this.
I love that we're like, let's not have a whole scene where you me catch Jude up.
Yeah.
So it's just you walking going, so you see, that's how I got the plans.
How I got the plans
and all the blood.
I love that line.
That's great.
oh man.
Go for
and
it. Oh.
just still cleaning the blood off because like
Oh, it's
that
stained.
stuff stained.
Yeah.
It was so bad. But
I'm not
this is
gonna
one of
bother
them
that.
my favorite moments that's coming up.
The
montage.
montage?
Yeah.
More questions.
Whoa.
State of the art laboratory.
Yeah, state of the art laboratory, an unfinished room.
Yeah, well, we can fix it with this.
This is gonna be a breakthrough in science.
Yeah.
In science.
I mean, I guess we start.
Yeah, let's get to work.
All right.
A projector screen, some swords.
Yeah. An office chair. You need that.
Master Chief's helmet.
Chief, of course.
And here's the
then
finished
here's
time
the time
machine.
machine. Well, no, it's
Well,
not
no,
finished
it's not
yet.
finished.
We gotta gut it still.
So, pause it real
So
quick.
this is
This is a warming cabinet. My
Yeah.
dad has a lot of kitchen equipment because he's a caterer. He also ran all the concessions, at that ballpark back in the day.
Yeah.
This is a standing warming cabinet you'll put big sheet pans of food into to keep them warm.
Yeah.
And so right there, Levi's
we
gutting
flip it and I'm pulling out
huge
cookie
sheet
sheets.
pans.
and then we continue.
Yeah, there's more. This scene, just for point of reference, what you're about to see is because where I'm filming from, I'm standing right by the light switch. I want you to keep that in mind when you see what you see here in a second. Okay, he's screwing some things. Levi put some big cables in it, and whoa, the lights are flickering. That's so great.
Thank.
We did, so for the audio listener, what just happened there? You have to pause it. What just happened
You're
there?
gonna
is-
want to go back a little bit so we get that line in because
Oh, yeah.
it's a great line.
So what we just saw there was a montage of them kitting out their laboratory and then working on this time machine, and then they finish it. It's standing up and done, and so they jump and high five.
and high five, and while we're in the air, we've got a clip
Yeah.
or a photo.
A photo, yeah.
Yeah.
A freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
There we
Freeze
go.
frame. There you go.
We knew it when we did it. We called it
Yeah.
a freeze
Yeah,
frame
we
shot.
called it a freeze frame
But I
shot.
don't know why we couldn't remember. But yeah, go ahead. We're almost done.
We're not in the filmmaking mind right now.
No. Podcasting. Levi looks so happy.
I was.
Think. It only took us 3 hours. And it took them years in another timeline.
Well, I guess it just proves our mental superiority, or that we had the plans 5 years early. Hey, now that we do have these 5 years early, it's probably a safe bet for you to wear a bulletproof jacket from this point on, considering you do get shot.
Yeah, pretty good idea.
Okay, pause it. So, Jude is 15.
Yeah.
When we're recording, it's 14 or 15, just so you know. So many of you know Jude, but you don't know this Jude. Also, some commentary here on the story. I like how I'm understanding it better. The goal, like the character motivation of Jude with glasses, right? So Jude, 5 years in the future, is that he will come back, prove to you with these diagrams that it does work, that this is him from the future, but he's not bringing them to you for you
So
to
that we can make it.
He's literally doing it so that he can convince you that he is from the future, so that he can take the ones you have
and
so that it never
stop
happens.
you from
Yeah.
stop me from doing like it in the future. But then he dies.
But
so I just
evil
take the
assassin man
program.
dies, so then he says, change the future, change the past. Then he's like, well, here's the plans, do it the right way.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting story. There's a lot of levels to it.
Yeah.
So here we go. It says sometime in the future. So Jude has just told Levi
To wear a bulletproof vest for the next indefinite
the
amount
next
of time.
5 years. Yeah, sometime in the future, this is going to happen. So every day for the rest of Levi's life, he wears a bulletproof vest because sometime in the future, an assassin comes in and tries to steal the plans for Project Dark Matter.
Yep.
And shoots you. And here's the Marvel shout out here in a second. You'll see.
Why does approximately equal pi?
You're in a laboratory barefoot.
Barefoot.
No, whoa, what do you want?
Project Dark Matter.
No, I can't hand this up. Ah!
So funny.
Levi,
So the scene we saw.
Are you okay?
It's a good thing we made this out of vibranium. Looks like he's using diamonds now.
Can you go back and just play that line again? It's so funny. The way Levi goes, looks like he's using diamonds now.
Looks like he's using diamonds. I love it so
Because we were like, oh, we'll make this, like, we realized Levi's got to have a bullet to, like,
and
throw
we
on the
don't
ground.
have a bullet.
And so we had this fake
So we
diamond.
had this fake diamond.
We're like, wait, but then, but diamond would go through a
and you
bulletproof
can
vest.
see me putting it underneath my shirt to then pull it back out.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, then what are we going to say? And he's like, oh, it's a vibranium bulletproof vest.
Because also I clearly am not wearing a bulletproof
No,
vest. I just
it's
have
a
a black
tablecloth.
Yeah.
That's like folded up under his shirt. So funny.
I heard it. What happened? Are you okay?
It's a good thing we made this out of vibranium. Looks like he's using diamonds now.
Also, the lab in 5 years hasn't gotten better.
No.
Nah.
Got him. Guess you could say we played him.
Yeah, you could.
Like you coughed it up.
Well, you want to go teach some Indians some English and mess with Columbus?
Pause it. So it was a different time, culturally insensitive line. Best line in the whole thing. So here's the question, guys. Leave in the comments if you had a time machine.
What would you do with
Because
it?
apparently Levi's going back to the Native Americans and teaching them English just to mess with Columbus.
Could you imagine Christopher Columbus comes to America?
And you're like, hey dude, what's
they're
up?
all speaking English.
Like modern English, 2018 English. They're like, hey, what's up? And they're making horrible memes.
I know, but the funny thing is, Columbus speaks Spanish.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't speak English.
That's true. Go back. We gotta hear that again. It's such a funny.
But it would be so funny. Oh my goodness, I love this.
Would history be different?
Yeah, they wouldn't be called Indians anymore. No, they would.
well-
I don't know.
You want to go teach some Indians some English and mess with Columbus?
And that's it. But there's an after credit scene.
Whoa, spoilers.
I just didn't want him to pause to stop it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Jerry Crane.
The audio is bad. So here it is in the lighting. Here's the assassin.
Mask.
Revealing.
Further mask.
The plans. The plans he stole.
The Dark Matter Project.
Oh, he got trolled. courtesy of the brothers Kronos.
Was the mission successful? They played us.
It was Jude all along?
It's almost as if we played ourselves.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
Oh my goodness, it's even better than I remember, to be honest.
It's almost as if we played ourselves line.
It's
Chef's kiss.
like it's so good. Like
It's so good.
it's so good.
Oscars, where
I
are
honestly,
you? I can't believe
love
this
it.
only got like 90 views.
I know.
I can't believe it got 90 views. It only got 90 views because of all of our high school friends that we
And
basically
we were sending
forced
it to
watch
like family and cousins.
Oh, it's at
we're
98.
99.
99?
I want to
Yeah.
see if this. We need to link that in the thing so
No, we
people can
don't.
watch it in totality.
No.
we should. We need to.
Is this how we get our big break for that movie?
Yeah, dude.
Like it's going to be like
This
a
is
cult
why I started
following.
UTI, was so that we
This is
could
why-
eventually
Levi.
grow a following so that they would come and watch.
Levi says this is why I started UTI. Wow. Dude, I mean that's the kind of movie that gets a cult following, you know. And this is how
when will part 2 come out?
probably never.
Will they look 8 years older?
Jude did have an idea for a while, being like, hey, we're doing this podcast. What if we did a short film for Christian Influence that had like a purpose and a meaning? And he had a fun idea. And we were talking about like, what if we started making some of those fun short films again, but ones with real earnest meaning behind them and stuff. But we never did. And we probably won't. But that was... So there you go. We got to go. It's getting really late. I've got to leave. But that's it. You know, before we were doing this, we weren't really doing anything. But every now and then we made some stupid little short films, and they were fun, and they were funny.
They were so much fun.
And I'm glad we did it because
so
it was
good.
fun. There's one of them. We've talked about it in the past and alluded to it. It's a bummer that we never did this with Jude here. But Jude will have fun watching this episode and watching us talk about it. So... you know, but at the end of the day, we had a good discussion here on this episode. We're glad that you guys were here to watch it and here to be a part of it. If there's someone in your life that you're praying for and you want them, you know, you should want them to know Christ and you're praying for, don't give up. Be a part of their life, be an influence. Here at Christian Influence, something we say all the time and something that really matters is that you have an influence whether you like it or not. So it should be a good one and it should be a Christian one. So go and be a Christian influence in other people's lives because it matters and God calls you to it. And also have fun making stupid movies with your friends.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So we hope you all enjoyed that. We love you very much.
Roll the outro.
That's a good one.